King James the First, Satan's greatest foe. Hello ladies and gents, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities and identities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And we're moving on to the Witchfinders. So, what is the Witchfinders about? Well, for anyone who knows their history, they're back in, I'm going to say 1600, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but there was a massive hype around the witch trials throughout Europe, throughout America, throughout just the world in general, and a lot of people were being put to death and accused of being witches. And leading this expedition of absolute massacres was none other than James the First. James absolutely detested a lot of people, and none other than most of them was his own mother. He was allowed to go and see his mother when he was very young, at a very young age, before she died, but he refused due to the fact that he grew up in a situation that was very complicated. But let's get back to the story itself. So the Witchfinders, we find the Doctor and her friends landing during the height of the witch trials. Now they don't realise this at first, but the Doctor runs over and suddenly watches as a woman is about to be dunked. The Doctor refuses to let this happen and of course swims into the water to try and save the woman. The Doctor is then accused of being a witch and finds herself being put on the pedestal. The Doctor then manages to get her way out of it by the fact that she is no witch, and also the fact that she is just really good with handcuffs due to Houdini. Now she begins to investigate around the village to find out exactly how these witch trials happened and how they started in Bilhurst Crag. Turns out that a woman in the village who has become very ill finds herself calling out all the women in the town and calling them witches, getting them dunked just because she despises them. She applauds James I for being a witch hunter, and of course he turns up in grandeur, played by the magnificent Alan Cummings. If you recognise Alan Cummings, it's most probably because he was in Lux recently, playing Mr. Ringading. However, in this story he plays James I. The Doctor finds herself arguing back and forth with James I as she begins to point out that none of the people in the village are witches. James dismisses her and of course suggests that the real witch hunter must be Graham. Graham points out that due to the fact that the Doctor is very nosy, he uses her to essentially weasel his way through villages. James accepts this acknowledgement and the group move forward. Eventually they come upon what really is conflicting the village. It turns out that creatures from beyond the stars known as the Morax have had themselves trapped inside of a tree prison for a very long time. However, when the lady at the house decided to try and chop it down, it took root inside of her and has made her ill ever since. On top of that, it started possessing a lot of the women in the village and turning them into mud monsters. The mud is alive and is all part of the Morax. To get rid of it and to save the people, the only way forward is to essentially destroy the tree itself. James I decides to burn the tree, but the Doctor tries to find another way and just trap the Morax back in their prison. The Doctor then becomes very angry at James I, and they all walk off and leave the village to the way it is. So, Witchfinders. What did I think of this story? It's very in tune with stories such as The Crucible, and I feel like that's its strong suit in this story. If we're just going for a historical witch trial, the best way to go really is to introduce stories like The Crucible. I really love the elements in this of having James I as well. I feel like he heightens the performance of this episode, and for that reason I give this a solid 10 out of 10. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, you beautiful people.